Okay, so like everyone, I'm always on the lookout for a good self-help book, right?
Yeah.
But this one kind of flipped the script. It's called The Seven Commandments of Foolishness
Oh, wow.
by Godman Akinlabi.
Okay.
And instead of, giving you a list of like do this and do that for a better life,
Right.
he basically gives you these like commandments, but they're all the things that you should not do if you don't want to be a fool.
Interesting.
And he uses a lot of humor
Okay.
and biblical principles to like really make these points hit home.
So it's like a guide to messing up.
Exactly.
Right.
Like here's your playbook for how to really screw things up.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good read. And
Yeah.
one of the things that really stuck with me
Yeah.
was this whole idea of like not thinking beyond your current circumstances.
Oh, yeah. I see that all the time.
Right. It's like we all have that like instant gratification monkey on our back.
Oh, totally. And that's like a big thing in psychology, too. It's called future discounting.
Future discounting.
Yeah. It's basically this human tendency to like want the reward right now and not think about the benefits we could have later on if we just voted.
Oh, so it's like the marshmallow experiment.
Exactly. Remember those?
Yeah.
They give kids a marshmallow and say, if you wait, you'll get 2 later.
And the kids who waited ended up being more successful like in life.
Exactly. It shows the power of thinking long term.
So how do we like train our brains to do that?
Well, it's like a muscle, right? You got to exercise it.
Okay.
So one really cool technique is what we call mental time travel.
Okay.
You just close your eyes and you imagine yourself 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years in the future.
Okay.
And you really try to picture, like, what does your ideal future look like? What are you doing? Who are you with? What have you accomplished?
Okay.
And by doing that, you're like connecting with that future self. And it makes you more likely to make choices today that'll get you there.
So you're basically like tricking your brain into wanting that future reward more.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to the next commandment, shall we?
Okay, let's do it.
This one is live only for yourself.
Okay, yeah, on the surface, that sounds like a recipe for being a jerk.
Right. Like super selfish.
Totally.
But I think there's a deeper meaning here.
Yeah.
It's not saying like go be a hermit and ignore everyone else.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that you'll actually find more fulfillment when you're part of something bigger than just yourself.
Okay, so it's not about like being a saint,
Yeah.
but it's about realizing that helping others actually makes you happier.
Exactly. Akinlabi really emphasizes that we humans were wired for connection and purpose.
Yeah, we're social creatures.
Right, and when we just focus on our own little bubble, we miss out on all the good stuff.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like the joy of helping others, building strong relationships, and, leaving the world a little better than you found it.
Yeah. I think it was Viktor Frankl who said, man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life.
Exactly. It's all about finding your why.
Okay, so what's the next commandment?
This one's interesting. It's despise knowledge and counsel.
Wait, what? Who actually despises knowledge?
Well, think about it this way. Sometimes it's not like outright rejecting knowledge.
Okay.
It's more like having this arrogance where you think you already know everything.
Oh, so like those people who won't listen to anyone else's advice?
Exactly. And Socrates even said, the only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing.
So it's really about being humble and open to learning new things.
Precisely. Akinlabi's point is that you should always be open to new information, new perspectives, and remember that learning never stops.
Learning is a lifelong journey.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of lifelong journeys, this next commandment is be led by your feelings.
Ah, yes. This one's a tough one.
It's like a constant battle.
Oh, tell me about it. We all have those moments where our emotions take over and we make decisions that we regret later.
So how do we stop that?
Well, the Stoic philosophers had a good approach.
Go on.
They said you have to learn to create space between a feeling and your reaction to it.
So it's not about like suppressing your emotions, right? It was more about being aware of them and then choosing how you respond.
Exactly. That's what emotional intelligence is all about.
Okay, are you ready for a really relatable one?
Hit me with it.
This commandment is love to procrastinate.
Oh, man, that's my specialty.
Right. I'm like the queen of procrastination. Well, recovering queen.
I think we all struggle with it to some degree.
But why do we do it?
Well, sometimes it's because we're afraid of failing or we feel overwhelmed by a task.
Okay, that makes sense.
But instead of beating ourselves up about it, we can try different strategies.
Like what?
Have you ever heard of the Pomodoro technique?
I think so.
It's where you break down a big task into smaller chunks, and then you work on it for like 25 minutes, take a short break, and then repeat.
Oh, okay. So it's like tricking yourself into getting started.
Exactly. And those small chunks feel less scary.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, what's next?
Okay, this one's super relevant in today's world. follow the crowd.
Oh yeah, with social media and all the influencers, it's easy to feel pressure to conform.
It is, but you know, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
It takes a lot of courage to go your own way.
It does, but it's so worth it.
Okay, last commandment, let's hear it.
It's refuse to take responsibility.
Ugh, that's like the opposite of growth.
It is. When we blame others or make excuses for our mistakes, we're avoiding the responsibility of fixing them.
But doesn't that just keep us stuck?
Absolutely. But the thing is that discomfort of admitting our mistakes, that's actually where the growth happens.
It's about owning our mistakes and using them as opportunities to learn.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the commandments of foolishness, but what would you say are the commandments of wisdom?
Ooh, that's a great question, and one I think is worth thinking about.
Yeah, definitely something to ponder. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the 7 Commandments of Foolishness.
It's been fun.
Remember, guys, wisdom is a journey, not a destination. Keep learning, keep growing, and don't be afraid to challenge your inner fool. Until next time.